Sorry about that there. That one got cut short there. I'll continue on. This will be a warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 155B. But take a look at the doubles. Somebody needs to make a collage of all the incidents going back, when Trump ran against Clinton. All the incidents of violence, of all the people who called for violence, of all the people who looked the other way during violence, all the way through to now. That's been done, and then you look at the false stories, and the FBI is not supposed to be partial to political stuff and everything, but you look at the false stories that came out of them, all that shit, the impeachment, all this stuff. And you can look at, the Republicans who, kept flip-flopping on whether they supported Trump or not and everything. But when it was to their advantage, they saw, hey, look, re-election's coming up. We're going to need all these people that support the president. We're going to need him to campaign for us. And once he did that, they leave him high and dry. They hid all year long. They had power to do things, to convene, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm telling you, there's something real hinky going on. But while they're talking about, they're going to hunt people down and this and anything you say or I say that they don't like, they're going to say, is inciting this or that, or you're an extremist or a white supremacist or a racist, whatever it is, they're going to keep playing a game. So I've been thinking a lot, what could 2021 hold for us? We already know, the things that they've put out front, undoing all the, things that Trump did and all that kind of stuff. Going back to the Paris Accords and, giving amnesty to all these illegals. A lot of them they call the Dreamers and stuff. And I wonder, have the Dreamers been registered for the draft the whole time they've been here? And if you grant them amnesty, are you going to make them go register for the draft like American kids have to? Just curious. And you're going to, do this wealth redistribution shit. It's not bad enough that you overtax everyone in this country. Bad enough. Right now, I'm staying out longer. I'm working harder. It's bad enough with the COVID and everything. And I should be working, and putting away for my retirement. But I'm having to work and stay out longer because I'm trying to catch up on back taxes from when I hurt my arm and was out of work for 8 months and stuff, and I was just starting to catch up on stuff. And before that, when my ex had breast cancer and stuff, I helped her out a lot. And, and even after she was through all that and everything, even though I always paid my child support, there was always, I'm worried, I can't pay this, I can't pay that. I'm going to lose my car and we're going to get kicked out. So, what am I supposed to do? Allow my son to be homeless? And so now, instead of working towards my retirement and everything and having or being able to help my son with stuff as much as I would like to right now, I'm having to stay out longer and longer and try to get ahead to where I can pay back taxes. And you're going to want this wealth redistribution and tax people more. And that $15 an hour minimum wage, it's going to kill small business. Like, you ain't killed it enough. You're going to kill more small business. You're going to cause more places to go overseas. We're going to lose jobs again. Small business can't go overseas, but a lot of these companies and stuff can. And the businesses that will stay here and stay in some of the poorer communities like pharmacies, this and that and everything like that, the price of everything is going to go up. So how do you think you're going to be helping, poor people by doing this? Not every part of the country. Yeah, if you live in Manhattan with the taxes that, are there and everything, it's going to be even harder. But, for the amount of wealth it's all leaving now. But the amount of wealth there and everything like that and the cost of living, yeah, people can afford to pay the higher prices when they go to McDonald's or they go to the drugstore, the richer people. Maybe businesses can function there with $15 an hour. But a lot of the rural South, Texas, the Midwest and everything, you're going to hurt a lot of people with that. Speaking of the Midwest and everything, looking at that electoral college and everything, I was thinking, you got all these minority states, the Dakotas, Wyoming, Montana, what else? Utah, and Alaska, Hawaii. And I know a bunch of people say, what do you mean Dakota's minority instead of Wyoming? Those all white people. Well, if you've listened to any of these before and everything, and if you have half a brain, minority means less in number, not color of skin, not less capable. When they started with all the, you got to have representation for minorities, it was because less of number. It has just become to mean when somebody says minority, everyone thinks of people of color now. Not less in number. People of color or people who are less capable. And that's not me. That's even the left media and the politicians talk about it that way. Present it that way. I'm saying minority less in number. If in this day and age, if we want to be fair to everybody, I think all those states should get a couple more electoral college votes added to them. Because the breadbasket, all those farmers and everything, are highly important to this nation. And their voices are not being heard. Alaska is highly valuable to this country. And their voice doesn't get heard. No one even goes up there to campaign, I don't think. And I don't know how they do those numbers by population and stuff, but I think the ratios are way off because it was supposed to make things more balanced where, California, New York, and the East Coast, where all the and Chicago and stuff like that couldn't be the only ones deciding the election. It was supposed to make it, so that things were more balanced. And I think it's out of whack. And that's the same thing with how many members of Congress and everything we have, too. You can't keep growing that and growing that, even though you have to draw a line. What the maximum should be. So yeah, somebody needs to make like a montage, a collage of all the incidents and broadcast that prime time or something, and point it all out, point out all the hypocrisy, everything, and ask questions like I asked. What if it was white people who did that to an African American? Would you call it a race crime or a hate crime? Would you be screaming for blood in the streets? So, getting back to what's going on, going to be in 2021. So we know some of the stuff, but still, you got to go on. What's the bigger picture? And I know I mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. I was in LA in '92 when those riots happened. Now, and there was no cell phones with cameras and shit and everything back then and everything. But conveniently, what happened with Rodney King and everything, there just happened to be somebody there to film it. Of course, they did like now. You didn't see the whole thing. You didn't get the whole story. So everyone's outraged. Well, they kept building it up and building it up until the trial. And the whole time, because I was out there pretty frequently then, before the trial, at least every week. And listening to the local radio and seeing the TV news and stuff out there, I was asking, even before the verdict came in, what the hell are they trying to do? They are fanning the flames so that if there's not a guilty verdict for all these cops, this town's going to explode. It's like they're priming the pump. And they've done that a lot this past year. And when it all unfolded, I was unloading down in Compton. Listening to the radio, and they were fanning him that very day. And the guys who were unloading me were at lunch. And they came across and said, oh, they, not guilty and all this and everything. And they were like, oh, man, this town's going to burn tonight, and, on the radio station. So I went, I told them guys that was unloading me, hey, man, get the rest of this off the truck. I'm leaving. And they were like, no, we're going to finish our break. I'm like, no, you either unload me or I'll drop the trailer, and take off anyway. I said, they just gave a report on the radios. It's not guilty, and they're really, fanning the flames. I'm out of here. So they came out and they finished unloading me real quick, and I went back to our yard in Fontana and watched everything unfold on TV for the next couple days. And there was people murdered live on TV. Live on TV. Black guys standing on the street corner, pulling people out of their cars, screaming. And you can watch it. There's a movie. It's called LA 92. Screaming, only kill the white and the Asians. The whites and the Asians. And the police did little to nothing. The politicians did little to nothing. And it was so surreal, I was like, what the hell's going on? What the hell is going on? And I'm telling you honestly, to me then, it seemed like it had to have been some kind of psyops or something. That the whole thing was planned. For some reason. And that's a lot of what's happened this past year has seemed like it's planned. So what could it be? What are the big events going to be in 2021? Well, we know we have the trials of a lot of these police officers coming up, don't we? And with the defund the police and a lot of these cops already quitting and resigning and leaving their police forces. If Minneapolis or any of these other places explode into riots like LA 92, and let's just say it's not riots. Let's say they get what they seems like they're pushing for, some kind of civil or race war. Because there's not going to be any police. There's not going to be any police. So will they use the National Guard and everything to suppress that type stuff? Or will people have to defend themselves? And then to stop it all, they'll use the military And at that time, that's when they'll confiscate guns. Will they let it get so violent and so bad and everything that they say, oh, we got to use the military and they got to confiscate guns? Because there is something bigger going on. And if you don't have a suspicious feeling out there, whether you're on the left or the right, whatever color you are, I don't know where you've been all year, because everything that's if everything that's happened hasn't made you scratch your head for some reason. And I don't know, I saw a thing popped up that on YouTube that Trump signed some kind of gun legislation or something. I don't know what it is, but could this all be, since they've been after the guns, could this all be part of a plot to where they use the military to finally get people's guns? And then if the military is tied up doing that here, and there's other stuff going on here, is that a cue for China to do stuff over in Asia? Or will they let China roll in here? Will they have America embroiled in a civil war? What is the bigger plan going on? Is it to entice China or some other countries into doing something rash? They'll get us all in a civil war and stuff and everything, and then they'll, use that to escalate things around the world, let things escalate around the world. Is it just a plot so they can get the fire off the nukes? Because a lot of these people believe in depopulation. That they ought to knock the population down. They even got them things on them, what do they call them, Georgia Guidestones, to knock the population down to 500 million. Are these people all part of that? I'm telling you, there's something going on. What events can we look for in 2021? They've scripted something out. Because there's no freaking way, when you listen to radio stations on the left and TV programs and even like local news here and there, the way they present everything, there is no acknowledgement at all. None at all. About the assaults and everything against people who supported Trump even before the first election. Nothing about all that violence. It has just been a complete barrage against Trump supporters and stuff. And like I say, he might be a shill for all we know. Just helping getting it divided and stuff. Who knows? Like to think he's not, but they got ulterior motives. You have to know that. You have to be able to know that. To incite such hatred, racial hatred, violence, and if they're planning some kind of massive civil unrest with one of these trials for these cops or something, BLM raised an awful lot of money. Where'd that money go? Is it to pay people? Barack said he wanted his own army. Is it to pay his own army for people to take the streets at the right time? There is something going on. You know, if the intelligence agencies hadn't botched and been involved in false flags before, and if the FBI hadn't done its stuff and you know, aided that first Trade Center bombing and you know, then the investigations and stuff and the false stories about Trump, I wouldn't be thinking the things I'm thinking now, that there's something going on. You know, in Minneapolis being used as a flashpoint, and I remember Jesse Ventura saying when he became governor of Minnesota, he was visited by the CIA. Whether that's true or not, and what, I can't recall if he said why or anything like that, but and now this barrage, you know, against people on the right, which is a continuation of the barrage that was led by Barack Obama with his whole thing about, you know, they want to cling to their guns and their Bibles, etc. Don't know. Something's really going on that ain't right. I'll tell you another thing that ain't right. Biden just made, you know, some transgender guy or something, you know, health secretary of health or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, you know, here we go, right off the deep end. So, you know, they're going to have more things about being able to take your kids away, being able to tell you, you know, what you can teach your kids and what you can't. It's a nightmare. I'm telling you, it's this past year, you know, even when the year started and COVID, you know, first started, a lot of people were pulling together. It didn't matter. Then they started with the politics of it. And then the George Floyd shit happened. They played politics with that. And, you know, you hear them say all the time, never let a good disaster or something like that, you know, go to waste. So I'm just, you know, having been through LA 92 and seeing how surreal that was and how they didn't do anything to protect the population. What they're doing now, talking about defunding police, what, you know, having not protected the population, then trying to prosecute people who protected themselves. You just know, you got to know there's another step to all this. You got to know there's, you know, a second phase. You know, they had to have a reason to have the military, you know, the National Guard and everything in all these cities and their capitals and stuff like that. Even if nothing happens, you know, tomorrow and stuff, they want to show, you know, that they can bring them on call anytime they want to. You know, and, you know, they're going to use them like watchdogs against anybody who opposes them. And then they might use them to confiscate guns if, you know, I'm telling you, I think that's what's coming next. But anyway, I wanted to touch on something else too about, you know, relations between police and citizens. And I think I might have talked about this once before, but I'll go ahead and say it again here. You know, years ago, and like when I met my wife and everything, you know, I was done with all kinds of bullshit. I'd made my mind up. I'm done. I'm not. Told her if there, you know, wanted to have anything to do with me and all that, you know, there's no more party life and all that kind of shit. And so that was fine with her. She didn't want no more to do with it either then. And several years later, though, you know, one of the quote-unquote girlfriends she worked with and stuff, you know, it was her birthday, and even before that, she'd been started going to the bar and stuff. You know, I wasn't a happy camper. I'd be out on the road busting my ass and shit, and she's supposed to be home from work and no answer on the phone, all that kind of crap. So I wasn't happy with this friend and the gallivanting around shit. So anyway, her friend has a birthday and all this. I'm home. I got to deliver a load in Tucson the next day. I'm not looking to go anywhere or anything like that, but it's her friend's birthday and gotta go. I go to this bar that I don't even like. All the shit sit there, and the whole time I'm beleaguered. Is that the word? Anyway, nagged at to have a drink. And I'm like, I don't drink. I don't want to drink. Oh, come on, have a drink. And all these people, especially your friend, oh, why don't you drink? Blah, blah. So I was like, fine, whatever, So I finally, I slammed a couple shots or whatever, but I was pissed off and everything, and left the table and went over and started playing pinball. Well, and my wife at the time was pretty well buzzed, came over, wanted to know what was wrong. I told her, just forget about, all this. And she kept on. She's like, oh, you're mad, and blah. And I'm like, you're damn right I'm mad. So that went on for a while, and I told her, I said, we're not closing the bar, let's go, whatever. No, let's stay for a little while, let's stay. Then the bar, last call happens, everything. We're still sitting there. I'm like, I got to go to Tucson tomorrow. We need to go. So we got into another little tiff there and everything. She got up, ran out the door, got in the car and everything. She's 3 sheets to the wind. I go out there. She's got the car started. The reverse lights are on or whatever. So I run up to the car, reach in, put it in park, and tell her she's not driving. She's arguing back and forth and everything. I turn the ignition off, try and get the keys. I can't get the keys from her. She won't get out of the car. I'm like, you're not driving. Well, somebody saw this going on, and it was probably her friend, because her friend didn't like me. I didn't like her friend. Called the cops. They show up. Supposedly, they tell me that somebody said they saw me hit her. I said, ain't nobody hitting nobody. And by the time they got there, all I had done is open the door and pulled her out of the car. So the officer, he's like, well, you got no right to do this and that and everything like this. I said, look, man, I said, how many commercials are on TV every single day about friends don't let friends drive drunk? But I'm supposed to let my wife get in a car. She's 3 sheets to the wind, highly emotional. I'm supposed to let her pull out of here? I said, you do what you got to do. You think what you think. You do what you got to do. And I'll go to court with this any day. Any day. Well, he didn't like that. And he's coming at me like, the guy's always guilty. The guy is always guilty. So there was 3 of them there. And I told him, I swear to you, I did not hit her. I'm not letting her drive drunk. We had a fight. What was the fight about? And it's like, it's none of your damn business. I said, I didn't want to be here. Well, have you been drinking? And I told him exactly what I had. I said, I'm the only sober one here. I'm mad as hell, but I'm the only sober one here. So he went off to question her, and the other cops went to question people who were out on the front of the bar by then. Everything. So I'm standing there by the car. I wanted a cigarette. So I went to reach into the car to get a cigarette. And the officer saw me. And right away, he's, get away from the car. And I'm like, what? And I kept going, he's, get away from the car. And they all turned by then, and they all had their hands on their guns. I'm like, I only want to get a cigarette. And he's like, I don't care. Get away from the car. So I did. Now, here's the point. I know I did not do anything wrong that night. I know I'm not going to be reaching for a gun. I know I'm not going to do anything to assault a police officer or anybody else there. But they do not know that. So they did the right thing by telling me to get away from the car, because for all they know, I'm some kind of nut job going to get a gun out and shoot them, everybody else. Who knows? They don't know that. And so the point I'm trying to make to you out there, if you don't heed the officer's commands, they don't know you. Because this goes to that Michael Strahan thing, interviewing that guy. He's like, all I was doing was this. After you assaulted the cop, they're supposed to give you the benefit of the doubt? So the officer doesn't know. And that goes back to another case that happened where the guy was standing in the middle of the road and a female officer was there, and then he kept walking towards her with his hands up and everything. You know, just because you have your hands up and you're walking towards an officer doesn't mean you're not assaulting or making them in fear of their lives. And then he went back to his vehicle, started reaching in. They told him not to. He kept going, and he got shot. And I believe those officers were brought up on charges, which is bullshit. Because if I had not listened to the officer that night, I have no doubt they would have shot me. And they would have been justified. Because they cannot allow somebody to get into a vehicle that they don't know, what you're going in there for, if you could come out with a gun and hurt them or other people around. That's what I'm saying. If you don't heed an officer's warnings, then what happens is your fault. So, wanted to point those things out and just throw that out there as, what's 2021 going to hold? I think a lot worse stuff. So wish you all the best out there. God bless. We'll see you on the next one.